You know, in social work, we learned that we have a day. But today, I learned in social work, because we have the problems of society throughout in our hands, and we feel it every day, we also need to know how to celebrate. Celebrate those individuals who have made change. So we're going to be doing that this evening. And I ask you to kind of remember that. Good evening, and now a warm welcome to our distinguished awardees and their families tonight to this extraordinary A Night at the Awards. As always, is a night to remember. Let's just give them all a round of applause. So as you know, I'm Mitt Joyner. If you don't know my name by now, you haven't really been listening. It's my distinct honor to welcome each of you here and those who've joined us virtually, because there are a lot of people online, to the NASW and NASW Foundation celebration of our 2020 award recipients. We have an extraordinary, exceptional group of honorees, and in a few minutes you will hear them after we introduce them and learn about their major contributions, if you don't know already. But before we get started, I would like to acknowledge some very special individuals. As I call on you, please stand and be recognized. NASW's Chief Executive Officer and President of the NASW Foundation, Dr. Angelo McLean. Members of the NASW Board, the NASW Foundation, and the NASW Insurance Enterprise, NASW past presidents, and social work pioneers. If you are in any of those categories, please stand up and be recognized. Dwight Hyman, Chief Operating Officer of the Association of Social Work Boards, and I think that's the Chief Executive Officer. We are delighted to have all of you. Tonight, we want to pause, as I said, and honor those whose works have made an impact on the lives of others. Through their tireless efforts, their stories about the resolve of others, hope sparked by a brighter future and communities that are now thriving, they have emerged. And especially this day, where we had a rollback, remember their stories, because some of them did the impossible, and you would have never thought it could change. And so that is the hope that we must have today. These stories are the reasons we honor and celebrate our awardees. As you will later hear, what social workers and those who embrace and live out the social work values do daily is like that pebble in a pond. Their work creates ripples in our ocean that help uplift our communities, our nation, and our globe. They are the necessity of our survival, just like water. So let's hear the stories of these remarkable individuals who have touched thousands of lives. And as we celebrate their contributions, let's celebrate the imprints and the footsteps that they have made so that we can learn from their process. Before we do anything else, I'd like to acknowledge our sponsor for this event, Winthrop University Department of Social Work. Thank you, Winthrop University School of Department of Social Work, and Dr. Anthony Hill. Thank you so much. Now, we hope that you too will consider donating to the NASW Foundation. In your program, there's an envelope for that purpose. But as I told everybody, people don't have checks anymore. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to remember NASWFoundation.org. Let's all say it again, NASWFoundation.org. And I was at another organization that did this really nice thing. They told everybody to pull out their cell phones, go to that .org, hit that donation button, and send your money now, because that's how we can make things happen. Sincerely, the foundation uses its donations to not only sponsor this program, but to also offer a lot of scholarships. And that's the one thing in social work we are going to start to learn how to do, is in order to fight the things that we have, we're going to need to dig deep in our pockets. I also want to thank Faye Henderson, who is at the foundation, for all of the work that she did this evening to make this happen. Now, it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Darla Spence Coffey, the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Council on Social Work Education. Darla will serve as my co-host this evening. So, Darla, would you please come to the stage and go to the mic that we hope that is working? While she's coming up, I want to tell you a little bit about her background. Now, Darla and I were friends, so I'm not going to tell you all about her background.
She promised.
But I'm going to tell you what they want us to tell you. Dr. Darla Spence Coffey is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Council on Social Work Education since July 1st, 2012. She was a member of the social work faculty at Westchester University beginning in 1998.
What?
You look good, 1908. Where she contributed to the initial accreditation of the MSW program in 2000. She was a professor at Westchester, and she also served as the director and chair of the university's undergraduate social work program from 2001 to 2002. Now, there's a long story about that.
You can keep going, Mitt.
But I'm not going to share
through
it.
that.
Right. But she was a major contributor at Westchester. She went on to serve as the Associate Provost and Dean of Graduate Studies at Westchester University before she was hired at the Council on Social Work Education. Darla has an extensive background in social work practice in the areas of mental health, substance abuse, domestic violence, and institutional racism, and is nationally recognized as an author and speaker on these topics. In addition to being active with NASW and other social work organizations throughout her career, she has served on numerous community boards that provide services to women and children, and is the national advisor to the Institute for Safe Families in Philadelphia. Darla, it's truly an honor to be back on stage with you. We've done this dog and pony show for a while because we were at Westchester together. And so it's been a long time, and we've come full circle. So thank you.
It's very nice to be here, Mitt. So I'm impressed that Mitt made it through most of that introduction without editorializing a bit. She's got some stories to tell, and I'm sure she'll be glad to tell you those stories.
At the reception with a drink.
We will all need a drink. But let me just say, it's really an honor to be here. Good evening. Welcome to this really inspiring award ceremony, a night at the awards, a night to remember. I'm so pleased to be here, and I too want to extend a very warm welcome to our honored guests, their families, friends, and all of you who are here to celebrate together. I also just want to pause and say that being here with the president of NASW means a lot to me, and I think it's really symbolic that Over the last 10 years that I've been at CSWE, the collaboration and the partnership between our organizations has really grown, and I think it's been very, very important to the profession. So thank you for the opportunity. But we are going to introduce you to some amazing individuals. These individuals remind us that one person truly can make a difference. I'm probably standing a little too close. They also remind us how rich our lives are as social workers and the impact that we have in small and big ways in our communities and beyond. Tonight we will showcase 8 extraordinary individuals and their contributions and accomplishments in transforming lives, homes, and communities across the United States and across the world. Tonight's honorees are the recipients of the NASW and the NASW Foundation Awards. They represent the very best of social work and those who embrace and embody social work values. It is now my privilege to introduce to you our first awardee, who unfortunately could not make it all the way here this evening. But let me tell you a little bit about her. And hopefully she is streaming and she will hear this. This first award, the NASW Emerging Social Work Leader Award, is given to a social worker who is at the beginning of their career and yet has demonstrated outstanding leadership and promise as a developing professional. This year's honor goes to Monique Bingham, a social worker and a mental health therapist with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition in California. Ms. Bingham received her MSW from the University of Southern California, from the Department of Adult Mental Health and Wellness, and her BA from Cal State University, Northridge. Ms. Bingham served as co-chair and chair of a group called Unchained Scholars, a student interest group at USC's Suzanne Dwork Peck School of Social Work. The mission of this group, Unchained Scholars, is to bring together social work students formerly incarcerated or impacted by the criminal justice system through programs involving expert speakers, bringing them to campus, and providing other kinds of support on their campus. Ms. Bingham says she's a firm believer in redemption through the power of human connection because of her own story. And let me tell you a little bit about her story, with her permission. Her father was incarcerated throughout her childhood and released when she was an adult. Let me just let that sink in a little bit. Undaunted by the obstacles she faced, Ms. Bingham has progressed and proven to be an outstanding leader and has much to teach us. She has spearheaded multiple successful projects, including a book drive and a video documentary. And you will hear a theme thread through our honorees this evening because they're all pretty tech savvy. She is known by her peers and mentors as an exceptional relational mentor who leads with her heart. She's effective in motivating others and creating space for others to work together for the greater good and to accomplish and create positive change. Her future plans, because she's just getting started, remember, includes addressing unfair policies and practices that obstruct or even reverse, and we know a little bit about that today, progress by social workers. We absolutely need young people like Ms. Bingham. Ms. Bingham, congratulations on behalf of NASW. We are so honored that you are part of our social work education, our social work professional community.
Monique, NASW, and all of your colleagues are so proud of what you attain, and we look to hear from you and become like this other individual that we're getting ready to talk to you about. We turn to NASW's Social Worker of the Year. Can I get a clap for that? This award is given to a professional social worker who has made exceptional contributions or who has developed model programs that have been successfully replicated by others in the profession. This year, the award is presented to Dr. Patrice A. Palmer. Palmer. Dr. Palmer is the co-founder and CEO of Ohio's Chosen for Change, a nonprofit organization that focuses on breaking the cycle of mass incarceration. Its programs assist individuals and families as they navigate that criminal justice system, access needed resources, and become more equipped through the empowerment and professional development trainings. That is what this individual does. She empowers people to succeed in life. For example, when people are released from jail in Ohio by the Department of Homeland Security, she works with those individuals in the community, advocates for policy change, and removes the barriers as people re-enter society. She liberates people. Dr. Palmer utilizes the NASW Code of Ethics as the guiding principle for her work, which involves innovative thinking combined with her personal experiences. Many have replicated her successful models in other states. She has been a panelist, a keynote, a guest speaker on multiple topics, ranging from re-entry, abuse, addiction recovery, and mental health wellness across the country. As stated by Ohio Senator Portman in his endorsement letter, Patrice is a woman of great character who has risen above her past struggles in her life and is fulfilling her God-given potential. She is a shining example, a living embodiment that recovery is possible. Now let's hear a message from Senator Portman.
Hi, I'm U.S. Senator Rob Portman. I am honored to recognize and congratulate my friend, Dr. Patrice Palmer, as she receives the National Association of Social Workers 2022 National Social Worker of the Year Award. I've had the pleasure of knowing and working with Dr. Palmer for over 5 years. I know her as a thoughtful, compassionate, hardworking, and very effective leader in Central Ohio, particularly in combating drug abuse and recidivism. As the former head of the Pathways program that I've seen in action and the founder of the nonprofit Chosen for Change, Patrice has played a leading role in helping some of the most vulnerable women in Columbus and that area turn their lives around and break the cycle of incarceration. Patrice is all the more remarkable for the trials she herself has overcome. 20 years ago, Patrice was grappling with many of the same issues that she now helps other women on. But through hard work, perseverance, and the grace of God, as she will say, she overcame and became a role model and a leader in breaking the debilitating cycle of addiction. Patrice is a proud mom of a recently promoted naval commander, Brandon. I know he's very proud of his mother, as is the rest of the family. And Patrice, Ohio, is really proud too. I'm told Patrice is the first winner of this award from Buckeye State since 2007, 15 years ago. Patrice, you have made us all proud. Congratulations on this great achievement and best wishes for future success. Godspeed.
So Patrice, we ask you to come on stage. She's accompanied by her handsome son. For your work as a staunch advocate and a leader in social change, we applaud you and we honor you, Dr. Patrice Palmer, as NASW's National Social Worker of the Year. This is your award. We can give you the award. Tears are great. And then we'll have you say a few words. I'll hold this for you while you do. I think I need to get lots of tissues up here.
This is a total honor. I'm totally excited and honored. First and foremost, I want to give honor to God, who is the head of my life. And because of his grace and mercy that he has extended to me, I am able to be who I am today, a woman that my family can be proud of, my college can be proud of, NASW Ohio's chapter, and NASW National can be proud of. I am so overwhelmed. Woo. First, I want to say thank you, NASW, for honoring me today. I am so excited that you selected me amongst my colleagues that are doing amazing things across the country. To our our Ohio chapter executive director, Danielle Smith, for your nomination and the work that you're doing in Ohio. To the College of Social Work at the Ohio State University, under the leadership of former Dean Tom Gregoire and Assistant Dean Lisa Durham, and to my mentor, my go-to, Dr. Gretchen Clark Hammond. Because of their leadership and their investment in my life, I'm able to invest in other people's lives. To me, it takes a village. I didn't get here on my own. I made many mistakes early on in my life, and so my career started later in my life. But what I say is that you don't have to allow your past fears or failures to dictate your future possibilities. You just have to be willing and open to do something different with your life, and that's what I've chosen to do. So I want to ask you this. I want to say this to you first, and then I'm going to ask you something so I can sit down. Whew. Whew. I forgot. I got to say thank you to my family, my brother Michael, sister Cheryl, Rhonda, Dina, and Dion, to my son, Commander Brandon Palmer. Give him a hand. Thank you for your service to our country and to your family. To Peace Love, it's a national organization that deals with mental health and has conversations about mental wellness through arts. And so just want to give a shout out to them for the work that we are collaborating on doing. Really appreciate their work, Jeff and Matt. But I want to say this: men are haunted by the vastness of eternity. And so we ask ourselves, will they remember our names long after we are gone? Will they wonder who we were, how fierce we fought, or what contributions we made to society that enhance the quality of someone else's life? To me, that's the heart of social work. That's who we are. We are the thread in the tapestry that keeps a community together. We are the source that will knock down a door, drag somebody else out. We will go to legislation and we will fight for the rights and the dignity, the value, and the worth of a person. So I love being a social worker. I love the work that I do. I give honor to this profession, and I'm willing to advocate to greater lengths to get our profession to be recognized at a higher level. So what I need you to do before I take my seat, everybody that has a cell phone, and I'm sure probably everybody here does, get your cell phone out. And on your cell phone, there's this little flashlight, right? Everybody got them? So hold up your flashlight, your phone with your flashlight, and then look around the room. Do you see all these lights? What we are saying together as a collaboration, that we are shedding a light on this profession, the work that we do, all that we pour into it. The work is important. We need to be valued as licensed social workers because we are change agents. Look around the room. What we're saying tonight, in collaboration together, one organization can't do it, one individual can't do it, one college can't do it, one government entity or one faith. Why? Because they're too small. But together, we have the power to bring systematic change. Thank you.
We're just getting started.
I got you. Go ahead, Dara.
Thank you again, Dr. Palmer. And I wish we could have taken a picture of that light, so we might need to bring the photographer up here and do a replay of that.
Turn that on again, and Danielle get a picture as well. So we're going to do it again. We're going to take some. We'll get it done. You go ahead.
Okay. So the third award to be presented this evening is the NASW National Public Citizen of the Year Award. This award is given to an individual who has gone above and beyond in their community. And this year, we bestow that honor to Dan Broyles. Mr. Broyles has a passion to help those in need. Where many shy away from the most serious social issues within the community, he consistently leans in. Mr. Broyles is a care pastor at Valencia Hills Community Church. He's been working with churches since 2002. Previously, he worked as a social worker for the County of Los Angeles, where he assisted abused and neglected children. He co-chairs the Faith Collaborative for the Department of Children and Family Services in Los Angeles County, which bridges the gap between social services and the faith community to assist foster children and struggling families. During the past 2 years, Mr. Broyles helped establish an organization called SAGA. SAGA is a nonprofit organization that helps others faced with mental health challenges. Mr. Broyles also helped start a new program called Family Stress Support that provides voluntary case management for families in need with a specialization in the faith community. Mr. Broyles has a master's degree in marriage and family therapy from Cal State University in Northbridge, and a bachelor's degree in biblical studies and a BS in human and family development, both from Grace University in Omaha, Nebraska. He is a licensed pastor, and he is a licensed master marriage and family therapist. NASW is proud to recognize Dan Broyles, pastor, community leader, author, entrepreneur, and finally now as citizen of the recipient of the 2022 National Public Citizen of the Year Award from NASW. Please join me on the stage to receive your award.
Well, thank you for the introduction, and thank you just for the NASW and their just generous and kind support. And as someone who works kind of in the faith community, I'm just so thankful for social workers. I'm thankful for the care that you provide for our community and the behind-the-scenes work that is done to care for families in need. I'm reminded of a woman I really respected, Karen Purvis, who the phrase she would use all the time is connect before you correct, which I love that with family relationships, but I notice it works really well with organizations too. And I've been able to bridge connections between hospitals and churches and nonprofits and the government all together in the same room to help bridge the need to address the area of human trafficking. Human trafficking is growing like leaps and bounds in our country and is tragic, and every child should never even come close to being trafficked. And so I'm just thankful that when people work together, a lot can be done, and the need for collaboration continues. I'm also excited about the research with Dr. Lisa Miller out of Columbia, who wrote The Awakened Brain about spirituality and mental health. It's just amazing stuff that she's doing. But I'm most thankful for just the people around me. I'm not the smartest guy in the room or the guy with the best ideas, but I've been just blessed with wonderful people. I have absolutely wonderful, when you're around wonderful people, it kind of rubs off on you. And I feel like I've been the recipient of just wonderful people in my life. Whether it's my community, I want to thank the local NASW chapter with Stephanie and Larry. They've been great. Nancy, they've just been absolutely great, the whole team there. It's kind of the northern Los Angeles area. It's been a wonderful chapter to work with. The Saga team, the Valencia Hills team, the Faith Collaborative, our trafficking task force. I'm just thankful for just the most amazing community to work together. And there's there's difference in opinion out in the community, but there's some things we can agree on, and that's child safety and stop trafficking. There's just so many things that we can agree on to work together. And NASW, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for just this privilege to be here. And I just have to end by thanking my wife, my high school sweetheart. And so she could not be here today, but we will celebrate our 25th anniversary next month. And look forward just to celebrating with her also. And just I feel so privileged just to do what I do. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like a privilege just to love others. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
And here, it's quite heavy, so if you're ready for it, here we go. And we're going to go over here. Position you.
This, our next award, is NASW's Public Elected Official of the Year. And it's given to an elected official who has shown leadership in public policy issues important to the profession. This year, the award is being presented posthumously to the late Honorable Congressman John Robert Lewis. Congressman Lewis was our friend in social work. Anytime I would come to DC, he would take me into his office and tell me all the stories, miss all the appointments because he could talk, show you all the pictures on the wall, and tell us why we have to stand up and show up. I remember we were having a CSWE meeting in Atlanta, and there was a lot of controversy as to why NASW should cancel that meeting.
CSWE.
CSWE meeting. Did I say NASW?
Yeah.
CSWE meeting. And I remember going to John Lewis's office, and I said, I think we're going to have to cancel the conference. And he said, cancel the conference? I said, yeah, there's a lot of controversy. Our members are upset. And he said, you tell them that's when they show up, they stand up, and they speak up. And he went on to tell me, you know what I'm going to do for you? I'm going to come to that conference. And he did. And it was at a time when his wife was very, very ill. And I didn't know that day if he would show up, but his staffer said, no, he said he was going to come. So I got a phone call from him while we were there, and he was saying, I can't get there for a few more minutes. Is that okay? And then he said, you know what, come to the front door, and we're going to stroll in that meeting together. And that's what he did. We did. And he talked to everybody. Is you can't avoid the issues that are occurring in our society. But that's the time when we show up, we stand up, and we speak up. As a leader in the civil rights movement of the 1960s, Lewis was challenged with Jim Crow segregation and oppression across the South through nonviolent protest. He often put his own public safety online, and his peaceful stance against discrimination was often met with violence. The son of an Alabama sharecropper, Representative Lewis dedicated his life to advancing the cause of freedom and equality in America. Representative Lewis was the founder and chairman of SNCC, which stands for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, a national civil rights organization with chapters at colleges throughout the South. In 1961, he endured a brutal physical beating and a lengthy arrest as one of the 13 participants in the first freedom rides organized by CORE, which stands for the Congress of Racial Equality. And that was to desegregate interstate commercial busing in the South. Representative Lewis' fearless commitment to peaceful protest resulted in more than 40 arrests in the 60s. In 1965, Alabama state troopers in the town of Selma attacked Representative Lewis and other demonstrators with clubs and tear gas during a march for voting rights. Images of the assault were caught on television and broadcasted across the country and directly contributed to the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. 2 decades later, in 1986, he was elected to the United States House of Representatives from Atlanta District, part of a new generation of black lawmakers from the South, made possible by Representative Lewis's tireless work to expand access to the ballot. During his more than 3 decades in Congress, he was a formidable legislator who exerted moral and political leadership within the Democratic Party and who never forgot his activist roots. On July 17th, 2020, Representative Lewis died in Atlanta of pancreatic cancer. A procession was organized to walk his remains across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, one final time before his casket laid honor in 2 state capitals, Montgomery, Alabama, and Atlanta, Georgia. 10 days later, Lewis became the first black lawmaker to lie in state in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. Now, it is fitting that we asked Dawn Lewis Murray, the ED of Alabama, where John Lewis had his roots, to please accept this award. Dawn?
Good evening to everyone. Thank you so very much, and I humbly accept this posthumous award on behalf of Congressman John Lewis, his family, and the great state of Georgia. Congressman Lewis was an Alabama native son and a legend of the civil rights movement and a leader of the 1963 March on Washington, and an icon for the grassroots organizers for more than 5 decades. A towering figure in American politics long after the many sit-ins, protests, freedom rides that we've heard about from the 50s and 60s, long after he almost died crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, on what has come to be known as Bloody Sunday. A Democratic congressman representing Georgia, he would forge an undeniable legacy, sponsoring legislation that supported gender, LGBTQ equality, immigration, and gun reform. Congressman Lewis fought the good fight and never stopped engaging in the pursuit of social justice until his death on July 17, 2020. Though he is no longer with us, his legacy lives on, and in this moment in time, on this poignant day, the words he spoke as a prophecy of our destined reality, which are adapted from the excerpts of Across the Bridge, A Vision for Change, and the Future of America. His voice rings clear. I have seen this restlessness among the people before. Yes, it was in another millennium, another decade, and at another time in history, but it pushed through America like a storm. In 10 short years, there was a tempest that transformed what the American Revolution didn't address, what the Constitution and the Bill of Rights were afraid to confront, what the Civil War wouldn't unravel, and what Reconstruction tried to mediate. And lastly, Jim Crow did it best to retrench. That mighty win made a fundamental lift in the moral character of our nation that reached every sector of society. And that history lends to you one very powerful reminder today, that nothing can stop the power of a committed and determined people to make a difference in society. Take a long, hard look down the road that you will have to travel once you make a commitment to work for change. Know that the transformation will not happen right away. Change often takes time. It rarely happens all at once. In the movement, we didn't know how history would play itself out. Getting arrested, waiting in jail, or standing on unmovable lines in the courthouse on the steps. We didn't know what would happen, but we knew it had to happen. As citizens, we knew that we had to cede some of our individual rights to society in order to live together as a community. But we didn't believe that social contract included support for an immoral system. Since the people vested government with its authority, we understood that we had to obey the law. But when the law becomes suppressive and tyrannical, then human law violated divine principles. We felt that it was only one right, but our duty to disobey. In the words of Henry Thoreau, to comply with an unjust system is to accept abuse. It is not the role of citizens to follow the government down the path of violations for their own conscience. Every generation lives behind a legacy. What that legacy will be is determined by the people of that generation. What legacy do you want to leave behind? Use the words of the movement to pace yourself. We used to say that ours was not the struggle of one day, 1 week, or 1 year. Ours was not the struggle of one judicial appointment or presidential term. Ours was the struggle of a lifetime, maybe of many lifetimes. So then, each one of us in every generation must do our part. And if you believe in the change that you seek, then it is easy to commit to doing all that you can before the responsibility is yours as a collective to build a better society and a more peaceful world. Social workers of NASW and this profession at large, the time is now. It's time to get in good trouble. It's time to get in good trouble and necessary trouble. It's that time to help redeem the soul of America. Thank you so much.
You're up again.
Oh, I forgot. I'm sitting here waiting for Darla, and she's sitting here waiting for me. This next award is the NASW's National Lifetime Achievement Award. This honor is given in recognition for outstanding accomplishments demonstrated through their career, contributions, and lasting impact, and grounded in the best social work values. This year, we recognize Nancy D. Miller. as CEO of Vision Services for the Blind and Visually Impaired. Nancy Miller, it says Miller, but I want to say Nancy. It's hard for me, Catholic school. Serves more than 7,000 low-income people in New York each year with free in-home, community, and center-based and overnight services. She works with people of all ages who are blind and multiply disabled, as well as with their families and unpaid caregivers. She manages over 106 full-time and part-time staff, approximately 1/3 of whom are blind. Nearly half speak a language in addition to English, and more than half identify as a person of color. Visions has ranked #1 in job placements of legally blind New Yorkers for 6 consecutive years. As to how her service started, more than 50 years ago, Nancy found herself working at Visions as a summer counselor and supervisor. She was then hired as a full-time social worker in 1975, and then became the executive director and CEO of Visions in 1987. What a remarkable trajectory. She serves on the board of directors of Live On New York, is a founder and president of the New York Vision Rehabilitation Association, a member of the editorial board of the Journal on Gerontological Social Work, and the Priorities and Policy Committee of the Human Service Council. As a Marial, I can never get that out, you will get it, appointment. She worked with the mayor as an appointment. She serves on the Aging Advisory Committee to the Commissioner of the New York City Department of Aging. She has a Bachelor's of Science degree in Human Development and Family Studies from Cornell University, and a Master's of Science degree in Social Work from Columbia University in Group Work and Aging. It is my pleasure for you, Nancy Miller, to come to this stage and receive the NASW National Lifetime Achievement Award. Let's give her some love as she walks up.
So my family is here, and my granddaughter Naomi said, "Nana, you're almost famous." Well, I feel like I am famous, being recognized by my colleagues and my peers for something that I have loved to do for close to 50 years now. Visions has been my life's work, but it is based on working with so many others that have made possible the rights and opportunities for people with disabilities, for people who are blind, for people with multiple disabilities, and their families. Visions was started by 6 women, and back in the 1920s, it was one of the few organizations that served people of all backgrounds, integrated programs for people of color, people who were white, immigrants, and the poor. And those values are values that I have taken with me throughout my career. Today could be a day of sadness because of the changes that are occurring in the rights of all people, women and others. And yet I am an optimist. I was going to say I'm 70 years old. I'm almost 71 years old. And I know that there is a generation just behind me who is going to be able to accomplish the things that my generation couldn't. There's a generation behind them that will accomplish what they were not able to accomplish. And as a field of social work, we have to be the optimists, because people count on us to be the ones to advocate, to be activists, to make the difference, and we do. So I thank NASW for this honor. I thank all of you for being my colleagues. I thank my family who make it possible for me to be the face of an organization, but the real work is done by our employees, by our board of directors, by our volunteers, and by my fellow social workers. Thank you so much.
So now it really is my turn. Thanks again, Nancy, for all the work that you've done over these many years and for your service. We say that to lots of military people, and I feel like we need to say that to social workers as well. Thank you. So now we're going to turn our attention to the NASW Foundation Awards, and I will announce the first of 3 of the Foundation Awards being presented this evening. It's the National Foundation International Rhoda G. Sonnet Award. This monetary award is given to an individual, group, or organization that has significantly advanced the public image of professional social work. Tonight we pay special tribute to the late Rhoda Sonnet, who was a true visionary, who saw a need to create a unified effort to improve the public's perception of professional social work. Rhoda Sonnet invested in people and organizations that helped move her vision forward, and in 1993, she and her spouse, Dr. Bernard Sonnet, established the International Rhoda G. Sonnet Award in the NASW Foundation. The NASW Foundation is pleased to present the 2022 Rhoda G. Sonnet Award to Silas W. Kelly. Now, I love that he's coming up here because we're just going to talk about him while he's up here. Come on, come on. Mr. Kelly is an e-journalism social work advocate who has successfully advanced the public image of this profession that we love through numerous media outlets. And he has done this impressively in addition to working as a social worker in Amityville, New York, at Concerned for Independent Living at Liberty Village. Mr. Kelly has used his broadcast background to promote social work nationwide through award-winning podcasts, I told you about that theme, blogs, and other media channels. Mr. Kelly and his nonprofit media production organization, Coulson Communications, feature a celebrated social work podcast called Kelson on the Air. And if you haven't heard it, you need to write that down and check it out. Mr. Kelly has made it his mission to educate the general public about how critical social work is to the health of our communities and our social welfare systems. You can read about his numerous awards for media work promoting the profession in this evening's program, which include an NASW Media Excellence Award. Mr. Kelly credits social workers for stepping in when his biological parents, William Kelly Sr. and John C. May Witherspoon, both currently deceased, had challenges raising their 8 children. He was placed in a foster home at 3 years old and found that environment to be abusive and traumatic. He credits social workers with saving his life by placing him in the loving home of the late Odin and Ruth Cox, and for helping him steer him on his professional path. Thank you, Mr. Kelly, for advancing the public image of professional social work both nationally and internationally, and congratulations on this award.
Thank you, everyone. International Rhoda G. Sonnet Award. From where I came from is nothing short of amazing. First, I'd like to say thank God for this great blessing. I'd like to thank the NASW Foundation for this amazing honor. I'd like to pay homage to my biological parents, the late Mr. William Kelly Sr. and Ms. John C. May Witherspoon, and my foster parents, the late Mr. and Mrs. Odin and Ruth Cox. I also like to thank NASW Foundation Director, Mr. Robert Arnold, NASW Executive Director, Dr. Angelo McLean, NASW Board of Directors President, Dr. Mitt Joyner, who's been a guest on my podcast. Special thanks goes to Ms. Kerry Criswell, coordinator of this wonderful event. Thank you, Kerry. Congratulations to all tonight's distinguished honorees. Also, I'd like to thank and acknowledge my lovely wife, Dr. Corinthia Price Kelly, and my three beautiful daughters, Ashia, Zanzelli, and Uchenna, who always support me endlessly. I'd like to say special thanks to Miss Lois Logan, who's watching back home. She nominated me for this prestigious honor. And also I'd like to thank Dr. Jacqueline Mondros of the Stony Brook School of Social Welfare, Dr. Lois Stein of the LIU Brentwood School of Social Work Program, and Mr. Frank Pomata, Mental Health and Wellness Advocate. They all wrote supporting letters for me. Here's why social work is so special to me. As it was said earlier in the introduction, I was the youngest of 8 children, and I was in my second foster home by the age of 3. I was removed from that first foster home, as you heard, after being physically abused. Thank you, social work. That day, the abusive woman I stayed with left me outside on the stoop, waiting by myself. I was out there feeling like I wasn't worth anything, like somebody just put out the trash. I thought, this is a cold, cruel, and heartless world, and no one cared about me. I told myself, don't ever ask for or expect anyone to help you, because the same way you left sitting out here on this stoop is the same way it would always be. At 3 years old, this is what I was thinking and feeling. Then a cab pulled up. A social worker got out and walked me back to the cab, and he opened up the back door of that cab, and there was Miss Ruth Alexandra Cox, my new foster mother, and my saving grace. And also, my brother, Paul Kelly, the youngest of my older brothers. The two youngest Kelly siblings were reunited and would grow up together in that loving home of the late Mr. and Mrs. Cox, and social work did that. Last year, after many, many years, I was able to reconnect with and interview my most impactful social worker, Mr. Dalton Murchison. I featured him heavily in a fellowship presentation I did last June 18th and sang his praises. My presentation made the case for more equitable pay for social workers based on our impact. Later that evening, while accepting the NASW New York State Chapter Long Island Social Worker of the Year Award, I again sang his praises and shared what he meant to me. He and his family attended both virtual events and expressed their appreciation to me for acknowledging him publicly. 1 month later, to the day, on July 18th, unfortunately, he passed away. I'm thankful the whole country got to hear and got to learn of what a great social worker Mr. Dalton Murchison was to me, and I believe his family is watching at this point. In closing, please know that I am truly humbled, grateful, and honored by this phenomenal recognition. Thank you, NASW Foundation and NASW. And I leave you with this. My biological parents gave me life. My foster parents made my life. And social work, thank God, saved my life. Thank you, God bless, and namaste.
To the family, thank you for sharing him with us. Right. It is now my honor to present the NASW Foundation Whitman Outstanding Achievement Award. The award is named after two NASW social work pioneers, Ruth and Milt Whitman, who were leaders and innovators in the profession. The Whitman Outstanding Achievement Award is presented to an individual or a group that has made a significant impact on national mental health public policy, professional standards, or program models. This year's award is presented to the Deputy Secretary Andrea Palm at the United States Department of Health and Human Services. It is my pleasure to present the Whitman Award, the Outstanding Achievement Award, to Deputy Secretary Palm in recognition of the impact she has made on national health and mental health policy, with an emphasis on health equity. In her current role with HHS, her decisions impact millions of Americans. Deputy Secretary Palm was the Chief of Staff and Senior Counselor to the HHS Secretary during the administration of President Barack Obama, and the administration's rollout of the Affordable Care Act. As a member of Wisconsin's Governor Tony Evers' cabinet, she is widely credited with improving the delivery of the COVID-19 vaccine when she oversaw the state's Medicaid program. As colleagues from the Brown School, WashU I always call it, but Washington University in St. Louis told us, to have a social worker nominated by President Biden and former President Obama to serve in the administration speaks directly to the effectiveness of her ability to advance social policy that greatly improves the lives of citizens throughout our country. Particularly during a pandemic, having a social worker at that level of the federal government is reassuring. Deputy Secretary Palm received her BA from Cornell University and her MSW from Washington University in St. Louis. Deputy Secretary Andrea Palm, can you please join me on this platform to receive your award?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for the warm reception, and Mitt, thank you so much for the introduction. First, I really do think I would be remiss if I didn't mention what happened today, the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe. I really do want to express this administration's unwavering commitment to ensuring that every American has access and the ability, the free agency to make decisions about their own health. At the President's direction, HHS is going to double down for sure and use every lever that we have in federal policymaking in the healthcare space to protect access to reproductive health care services across the continuum. So, having said that, there's not necessarily an easy way to pivot back to why we are here, but I do want to really express how grateful I am and humbled that I am to receive the Whitman Outstanding Achievement Award. I would say to my fellow honorees, your stories are inspiring, and they certainly are what led me to move from direct service into government work. So congratulations to all of you. Looking back, I really do realize and appreciate the profound impact that my time in direct service as a child welfare worker, as someone who did work in crisis services, who did case management with families who were victims of crime, with youth who were either runaways or were locked out, tossed out of their homes and needed services and hopefully reunification. I really grew to appreciate systems and what it meant for people to interact with those systems, and how social workers as problem solvers through the use of the tools that we learn in school around empowerment, around social justice, around systematic change. Again, really those roots of our work in this profession enables better outcomes for the people that we serve. And they really are, they have fundamentally influenced the way I do my work at the policy level here in the federal government. Mitt mentioned as a legislative staffer on the Hill, as secretary at the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, and now as deputy secretary at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. I feel a real responsibility and privilege to make sure that the work of government, the work at the policy level, work in government, you have choices within the statutory framework, right? You turn the dials through regulation, through policymaking, through FOAs, through the programmatic levers that we have, and you can make it easier for families and the people you serve to succeed, or you can make it harder. And what I try to do every day is get up thinking about those people that I served in the earlier parts of my career with direct services, and think about how to set the dials and use the levers to make it easier for families and people that we serve to succeed. I think that is our responsibility, and again, the privilege of serving in government. Back in March, during his State of the Union, President Biden made behavioral health and mental health a core pillar of his unity agenda. And I am privileged to have been asked by the Secretary at HHS to take the lead on this work for the department. So with the President's call to action, our goal at HHS really is to advance transformative behavioral health solutions and really integrate behavioral health into the healthcare system. It is my view that it is one of the last miles in healthcare, that we put people at the center of their care, that we wrap around them what they need to be healthy and well, and that we have to stop treating the neck up differently from the way we treat the neck down. And that And so at HHS, we have invested $1 billion in the last year to expand the healthcare workforce, particularly in the behavioral health space and in rural and underserved communities. We've created a new mobile crisis unit benefit in Medicaid to help states integrate community-based mobile crisis services into their Medicaid programs. And we're preparing to transition the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline to an easy-to-remember 3-digit number, 988. So people, it's all exciting work. I appreciate it. So people experiencing suicidal, substance abuse, other kinds of behavioral health crises can access a trained counselor 24/7. There's so much good work to do in behavioral health, and it is a focus of our efforts and will continue to be, but we're certainly not done. The president has advanced a bold vision for the next budget cycle that the Congress is considering now, and I hope to see sustained and continued investments in this space so that we can continue to push this work forward. We certainly saw a down payment as part of the gun safety bill that went to the president's desk today, new significant investments in mental health that we will use again to really do the integration of behavioral health and the work that needs to be done to take the next step in this space. But to achieve those goals, we all need to be partners in this work, and there's no better partners in this work than social workers using the tenets of our profession to really move the ball forward for the American people. So I want to really thank you again for recognizing my work. It's such an honor to be here. The NASW Foundation, thank you so much for the recognition, and I look forward to continuing to work with all of you to do this important work. I don't know if I can carry all of this.
No, take your time.
Yeah, you don't know what you'd do without that, right? Thank you again, Deputy Secretary Andrea Palm.
It's great to have a social worker at HHS.
It sure is. It sure is. And now for our last award of the evening, it is really my great honor to announce the recipient for the Whitman Lifetime Achievement Award, Denise Giuliano Bolt. This award recognizes a professional social worker who, over the course of his or her career, has made an exemplary contribution to mental health practice. Ms. Giuliano Bolt was chosen from among her peers for her exceptional decades-long commitment to the social work profession. In the last 20 years at the National Institutes of Mental Health, her career has included many important leadership roles. She served as chief of the Systems Research Program, chief of the Disparities in Mental Health Services Research Program, and she was the lead for the Autism Spectrum Disorder Services Program within Lifespan Research. Recently retired, after a long and productive 36-year career at the National Institute of Mental Health, her work will have long-term impacts for individuals experiencing mental health disorders, their families, and the services that they receive across multiple systems. And that was a direct quote from one of her colleagues from NIMH. Ms. Giuliano Bolt has achieved wide recognition for her technical assistance to support social work researchers, her funding opportunity announcement development, liaison work with the National Institute of Health and other external organizations, and her summer training institutes for social work researchers, which I think I actually participated in one of those back in the day. She received her BA from the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor and her MSW from the Catholic University of America here in Washington, D.C. Thank you, Denise Giuliano Bolt, for devoting your life's work to social work with such impressive results that we have clearly benefited from. Please join me on stage to receive your award.
Thank you. I'm truly honored and humbled to receive this award from the NASW Foundation and NASW. It's especially meaningful to be nominated and recommended by longtime colleagues who I admire and respect for their work and for who they are as people, and who are familiar with my career. Of course, an award like this is a time to reflect on one's career, and I'm just going to reflect briefly. When I got my MSW in 1984, my goal was to have a private psychotherapy practice. As a brand new MSW, of course, a lot of opportunities were available to me, and I decided to explore a few of those and I never achieved that private practice goal. Instead, I first worked with individuals and family in an outpatient mental health clinic, then with women with mental illness and other life problems in a homeless shelter, and that got my foot in the door at National Institute of Mental Health, starting as a social worker in the inpatient schizophrenia studies. From there, I was able to work in the public and professional depression education campaign through the communications office, and then finally in the extramural research program, supporting research on services for people with mental illness and for people with autism, including a focus on eliminating health disparities and achieving health equity. But I have to say that my direct services experience in the beginning of my social work career completely informed and enriched what I was able to do when I got to NIMH. And in that capacity, I also served for several years on the National Institutes of Health Social Work Research Working Group that was impaneled by Congress to promote more social work participation in NIH-funded research across all institutes. This was not the career path I had in mind right out of social work school, but those experiences got me to a goal that I didn't imagine in those early days. That is, the opportunity to contribute to improving outcomes for individuals and families facing mental illnesses and families facing autism, and to contribute to advancing the field of social work practice and research, and to know and work with, learn from, mentor, and be mentored by many amazing colleagues and clients. So I want to give my sincere thanks to Joan Zlotnick, one of the hardest working people in social work, who's out here somewhere, for nominating me and for all those who endorsed my nomination. To my husband, Dennis Bolt, who's also out there somewhere, for supporting me throughout all of my career, and to the National Association of Social Workers for this great honor, which I also had never imagined receiving. This recognition is deeply meaningful to me, and I thank you.
Her hubby is so attentive. What do you mean out there somewhere? He is just beaming right now. Well, I told you that this year's honorees are going to be truly memorable and will inspire us. Let's give them all a round of applause. Once again, NASW and the NASW Foundation thank all of our award recipients. You make us proud, and that's what NASW is so glad that your light helps uplift our light. So thank you again. Before we conclude, I'd like to say thank you, Darla. I used to call her Dar, but it's Dr. Darla Spence Coffey. We conclude this year's A Night at the Awards with closing remarks from our NASW Chief Executive Officer and NASW Foundation President, Dr. Angelo McLean. And then once he gets here, Angelo and I, we'd like to acknowledge Darla and Dwight Hyman. So Dwight, if you would come up as well.
I saw that look, Dwight.
I thought you were kicking me off stage.
No, I'm not kicking you yet, technically. this year. And we wanted to give her this beautiful bouquet. Her flowers that she has justly deserved for 10 years of service to social work. Social work, NASW, CSWE, ASWEB, you all have collaborated together. You've helped bring our profession together. And I just love these flowers, Darla. I see something that I like there, right? Thank you so much.
And Dwight, as you can see, I didn't get you flowers. I got you something better than flowers. When I say it's I approve. I didn't actually go do the shopping and so forth. And when you see what's in here, you're going to say, oh, that's why he asked me that. But no, thank you for your leadership at ASWB the last 15 years, and in particular the last 2.5 years as Chief Executive Officer. You didn't pick a good time to be CEO, but you certainly delivered in the crunch, and we appreciate it. And it's been so cool, the three of us being able to be a team and to cooperate and to collaborate and to work for collective impact. Thank you.
Right, if you would get on the other side of Dr.
Okay.
And Darla, you stand right there. No, there you go.
You got to scoot that way down.
Scoot over. Meet in the middle, okay.
You want to show the audience what you got?
I guess I have to. Big. Mixed nuts.
Hold it up.
You know there's a story.
There's a story behind this, and this is Dr. McLean's gift to you, right, as well as NASW. So eat them well and enjoy them for the next 5 years. Dr. McLean, the podium is yours.
Thank you. Oh, we like to have fun. We like to honor folks who've done a terrific job, and we like to poke fun at our colleagues. You know, we stress cooperation because we want, for our profession, we don't want there to be winners and losers within our profession. We want it to be a win-win situation. It's my honor to kind of bring us home, and I want to thank those who are in the room and those who are participating online. Thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate you joining. It helps make it a much more festive event to have your participation. So thank you. I'm so proud to be here with all of you to hear the stories. Each year, when I hear these stories, it inspires me to do more, particularly on those days when I'm feeling like, oh, maybe I can just mail it in today and say, no. Our awardees, they did it day in, day out, week in, week out. You got to do it too. Monique Bingham, Dr. Patrice A. Palmer, Dan Broyles, Honorable Congressman John Robert Lewis, Nancy D. Miller, Silas W. Kelly, Honorable Deputy Secretary Andrea Palm, Denise Giuliano Bolt, These are ordinary people who have done extraordinary things. Tonight we have witnessed when an ordinary person decides to set a goal, to live out their dreams, that an ordinary person can do extraordinary things. Each of tonight's award recipients would say to us, they would say to all of us, that we all have the potential to do extraordinary things, that we can do incredible things. They wouldn't say to us, well, I'm just such a special person. I'm so extraordinary, and you could never do what I did. They would say to us, hey, it was up and down. It always didn't move in the right direction, but I hung in there day in, day out, week in, week out, and I was able to accomplish my dreams. So with that, I ask the audience to give you another round of applause. For setting the example of what we can do as human beings, what we can do as social workers. And yes, the time is right for social work. We know there's challenges, but we're up to, equal to, and greater than those challenges. I would like to thank our wonderful, wonderful co-hosts for the evening, Mitt Joyner and Darla Spence Coffey. Let's give it up for them. I want to acknowledge our sponsor, Winthrop University Department of Social Work. As a professional organization, we can't do the work without sponsors, without members, without friends, without people who are saying, yeah, I'll step up and raise their hand and say, yes, I'll volunteer, I'll join, I'll donate, I'll contribute. Does anyone, can someone raise the envelope that came in your packet? I was going to bring it as a prop, but I forgot. Oh, okay, thank you. This here, if you don't want to fill it out and send in the check, you can go to, as Mitt said, NASWFoundation.org and make an online donation. But giving is more than just the dollars that you contribute. It's the emotional support. And these contributions help us do the work. Our charitable foundation is where we can offer scholarships, fellowships, and really help advance that next in the emerging generation of social workers. So please, I want to give this back to you. Thank you for sharing with me. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think most of us learned how to share when we were playing in the sandbox, and the adults in our lives would say, make sure you play nice in the sandbox and share. We invite those in the room to join us for a reception across the hall in the ambassador room, and we're going to have some refreshments. Hopefully we're going to have some refreshments. And I invite those who are participating online, this is a time you can go for your favorite beverage or your favorite snack and enjoy that in honor of our awardees tonight, our outstanding, wonderful awardees. With that, I'll say that concludes our program. And if the awardees could come up, we'd like to get a picture so we can see all that talent in one snapshot. Thank you. us the reason for the movement?
Yeah, I was a social worker